Good evening. I'm Simone Sanders Townsend, and we begin tonight with the end of a week full of obfuscation, finger pointing, and just flat out gaslighting from the Trump administration. President Trump and his team have spent the last several days twisting themselves into knots, trying to deflect or frankly just make excuses for why the editor of The Atlantic was inadvertently added to a Signal group chat where the Secretary of Defense shared classified plans for a military strike in Yemen. I mean, they have called it a witch hunt. Then they contradicted that by saying it's no big deal, that none of the information was classified and not technically war plans. They even questioned if Jeffrey Goldberg somehow got sucked in to this group chat. Anything but actual accountability. Also, apparently there are more chats. I don't know. Despite reporting that Donald Trump is privately frustrated with his national security advisor, there has yet to be any, and I do mean any, repercussions for anyone involved in this massive scandal, which, frankly, everyone, it's just astonishing. It is astonishing because the guy's whole brand is saying you're fired. I used to watch the show, okay? And as so many people are rightfully pointing out the blatant hypocrisy here from the but her emails crowd. Now even Hillary Clinton is speaking out. She has had enough. Writing in a New York Times op-ed, it's not the hypocrisy that bothers me. It's the stupidity. We're all shocked that President Trump and his team don't actually care about protecting classified information or federal record retention laws. But we already knew that. What's much worse is that top Trump administration officials put our troops in jeopardy by sharing military plans on a commercial messaging app and unwittingly invited a journalist into the chat. That's dangerous, and it's just dumb. Well, joining me now is NBC News White House correspondent Vaughn Hilliard. Vaughn, has the White House seen Secretary Clinton's op-ed? Did they have any response?
We haven't heard a response to Secretary Clinton at this point in time, but I can tell you, Simone, that Attorney General Pam Bondi, when asked about whether the extent to an investigation by the FBI or the Department of Justice, which she had suggested that there is no such investigation taking place, she turned the question around and said that there should be greater scrutiny on the handling of classified documents and information by Hillary Clinton, moving the storyline back 9 years ago. And so this is where you see here, we should note that, of course, there was an FBI investigation into records related to Secretary Clinton and the email server that she had. But in this situation, the Attorney General, who again appeared this afternoon, Simone, as Alina Habba was sworn in as acting U.S. Attorney out of New Jersey alongside the President of the United States, has articulated a defense of this administration and even suggested in the last 24 hours that Signal is a safe channel, that, of course, it is encrypted, but it is unsecure. And, of course, the Pentagon itself put out a warning earlier this month to its employees that Signal was not a safe form of communication, yet the Attorney General of the United States has not articulated otherwise. We should note that in Greenland today, Vice President Vance was asked about this as he stood alongside National Security Mike Waltz, who had joined him on the trip. And he said that there is an inquiry that is taking place. It is not clear the extent to who is involved in this inquiry, but he said that they expected to wrap it up soon. And he said that this administration has taken responsibility, that this text change shouldn't happen. Of course, this was a departure from the initial response from this administration in the first days after Jeffrey Goldberg published in The Atlantic that such an exchange was taking place on Signal here. But for this administration, it was not President Trump who, even, we should note, didn't come wildly to the defense of his national security apparatus here. But other than that, they have articulated that nobody ultimately was harmed and that the mission was a success here. At the same time, there's still a lot of serious questions, and it is not clear here on this Friday evening the extent to which there is a serious inquiry into what took place and whether this form of communication going forward is going to continue to exist, and to what extent have there been guidance issued by this White House and by the Pentagon and by the National Security Council to not have this sort of communication going forward, Simone.
There are many more questions, Vaughn, in that press conference today that you mentioned from the vice president in Greenland. He suggested that we should all just move on to another story, that it's been 4 or 5 days already. I, for one, am not moving on. NBC's Vaughn Hilliard, appreciate your time, sir.
Thanks, my friend.
For more, I want to bring in Michelle Goodwin. She's a Georgetown law professor, and Harry Litman, former U.S. Attorney and Deputy Assistant Attorney General. Now, Harry, let me just say that According to NBC's own reporting, a DHS staffer, Department of Homeland Security, faces serious punishment for accidentally adding a reporter to a group email. Yes. A longtime Department of Homeland Security employee told colleagues she inadvertently sent unclassified details of an upcoming immigration and customs enforcement operation to a journalist in late January. But unlike Waltz and Hegseth, who both remain in their jobs, the career DHS employee was put on administrative leave and told late last week that the agency intends to revoke her security clearance, the official said. Now, Harry, I used to work in the federal government. I think that what happened to this staff person is par for the course. That is, in fact, appropriate. That's what would happen to any one of us, at least, who conducted ourselves in the way in which this staffer did. So why is there seem to be a different standard for the Secretary of Defense, the National Security Advisor, the DNI, the CIA Director, heck, even the Treasury Secretary, because he was in the chat, the White House Chief of Staff? Lots of people are in this chat, Harry Litman. Help me understand.
I'll do my best, Simone, because there's only one possible salient difference, too. They are Donald Trump and Pam Bondi. I am here to assure you, this is just one example. We are talking about a federal crime. The inadvertence doesn't matter. This is so serious. If you are extremely reckless and it goes to someone else, that is the espionage offense, the same crime under which Donald Trump was charged for purloining the documents from Mar-a-Lago. And it is mind-bending for anyone who was in the Department of Justice that there hasn't already commenced an investigation with a folder that says 793F and Hegseth on it. It would be a matter of absolute routine course. And the fact that it isn't happening now, which you have to ascribe to Bondi and Trump, is a really, vivid and one more disheartening indication that there's just a complete different standard here for friends and, well, actually three standards: friends, everyone else, and enemies. But certainly friends here. If he escapes even an investigation, Vaughn made a very important point about Hillary Clinton. She was investigated. Investigate. How much have they done this? What did Hegseth think? When was it called non-classified? So many questions and a possible crime. It's astonishing, to use your words, that there hasn't been a follow-up, and apparently there may not be from the Department of Justice.